Hello. I'm doing this so that one day when I'm gone, that maybe Pierce's kids will think it's kind of cool. So I'm going to do my best. I'm not reading off any cards. I'll close my eyes a couple of times while I do it. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch who lived just north of Whoville did not. The Grinch hated Christmas the whole Christmas season. Oh, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. It could be that his head wasn't screwed on just right. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever his reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a holly Who wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. For he knew that tomorrow all the Who girls and old boys would all wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys. And then the noise, 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 noise. If there's one thing I can't stand, it's the noise, 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 noise. They'll shake squeaks and squeals racing around on their wheels. They'll dance with jing tinglers tied onto their heels. They'll beat their trum-tookers, they'll slam their slew slonkers, they'll bang their hoo-hooters, they'll wham their hoo-honkers. And they'll play noisy games like Zuzit and Kaze, a roller skate type of lacrosse and croquet. And they'll make ear-splitting noises deluxe on the great big electro-hoocardio flux. Then the Who's young and old will sit down to a feast, and they'll feast, and they'll feast, and they'll feast, 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 feast. They'll feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast. Ah, roast beast is a feast I can't stand in the least. And then the Whos will do something I hate most of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, will stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'll stand hand in hand, and those Whos will start singing. Ba-hoo, do-re, fa-hoo, for-re, welcome Christmas, come this way. Ba-hoo, do-re, fa-hoo, for-re. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, why, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop the whole thing. Why, for 53 years I put up with it now. I've got to stop Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderfully awful idea. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat. I'll make a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat, I'll look just like Saint Nick. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. Your heart's an empty hole. Your brain is full of spiders. You got garlic in your soul, Mr. Grinch. I wouldn't touch you with a 39.5-foot pole. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the Grinch? The Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he took his dog Max, and he took some black thread, and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he whistled for Max. And the Grinch said, "Giddy up!" And the sleigh started down to the homes where the Whos lay a snooze in their town. All their windows were dark. No one knew he was there. The Whos were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, "This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed as he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fists. Then he went down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a minute or two, and then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue where the little Who's stockings hung all in a row. These stockings, he grinched, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant. Around the whole room he took every present. He took pop guns, pampoozles, panzookas and drums, checkerboards, bistlebinks, popcorn and plums. Then he stuffed them in bags, and the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags, one by one, up the chimney. Then he went to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who's pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash, while the Grinch even took the last can of Who Hash. Then he stuffed up the food up the chimney with glee, and now, grinned the Grinch, I will stuff up their tree. But as the Grinch took the tree, as he started to shove, he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was no more than 2. She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick that he thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," the fake Santa Claus lied, "there's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it back to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the child, and he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he put her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who was in bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar, and the last thing he took was the log for their fire. On the walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire, and the one speck of food the Grinch left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. "You're a rotter, Mr. Grinch. You got termites in your smile. You have..." Oh, crap. His phone's coming out. "You have all the tender sweetness of a seasick crocodile, Mr. Grinch. Given the choice between the 2 of you, I'd take the seasick crocodile." It was a quarter of dawn. All the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a-snooze when he packed up his sled. Packed up with their snoof and their tingles and fozzles. Packed up with their pentukas, their dafflers and wazzles. Then 10,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. "Pooh-pooh to the Who's," he was Grinchly humming. "They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or 2, and then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo-hoo." "That's a noise," grinned the Grinch, "that I simply must hear." He paused, and the Grinch put a hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then started to grow. "Ba-hoo, do-re-fa-hoo, for a welcome Christmas come this way. Da-hoo, do-re-fa-hoo, for a welcome Christmas, Christmas Day. Welcome, welcome, fa-hoo, fa-hoo, welcome." But this sound wasn't sad. This sound sounded glad. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. He puzzled and puzzled till his puzzler was sore. And then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. What happened next? Well, in Whoville, they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And then the true meaning of Christmas came through, and the Grinch found the strength of 10 Grinches, plus 2. And now that his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. With a song in his soul, he descended Mount Crumpet, cheerily blowing hoo-hoo on his trumpet. Hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo. He rode into town. He brought back the toys. He brought back the floof to the Who girls and boys. He brought pop guns, panpoozles, panzookas, and drums, checkerboards, bistlebinks, popcorn, and plums. He brought everything back, all the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. So welcome, Christmas. Bring your cheer. Cheer to all who's far and near. Christmas Day is in our grasp. So long as we have hands to clasp, Christmas Day will always be, just as long as we have we. So welcome Christmas while we stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Merry Christmas.